Salt spray lashes your face like buckshot. The LCA's steel ramp crashes down with a clang that drowns the diesel roar, and the first thing you see is the cliff, 120 feet of sheer concrete, pocked with black embrasures that spit orange fire. MG-42s, the Germans called them Hitler's buzzsaws, scream at 1,200 rounds a minute. Men to your left and right fold like marionettes with cut strings. Sergeant Major Stanley Hollis, 6th Green Howards, shoulders his Sten and bellows something lost in the surf. He's 31, already old for this war, and his eyes are fixed on the shingle 300 yards ahead. Behind him, Private Tom Wilson, 19, vomits seawater and bile but keeps moving. The ramp is a funnel, and the only way out is forward. A duplex-drive Sherman wallows in the swell to starboard, canvas flotation screen shredded by 88mm shells. The turret hatch pops. Lieutenant Bob Edlin, 2nd Ranger Battalion, hauls himself out waist-deep in blood-warm water, Thompson's submachine gun raised like a talisman. The tank coughs, sinks, and 33 men vanish beneath the wake. Then the tide turns in a single heartbeat. From the smoke emerges a second wave of steel monsters. Hobart's Funnies, Churchill AVREs with petard mortars the size of dust bins. Captain Cyril Rand of the 79th Armored Division stands in the open turret, pipe clenched, calmly calling grid squares as if ordering tea. The first 290mm flying dustbin arcs overhead and punches the concrete castmate dead center. A blossom of orange, then silence from that gun. You can almost taste the cordite. The ramp behind you is empty now. The LCA reverses into the smoke. There is no retreat, only the cliff, the wire, and the 6 hours that will decide the war. Boots crunch on shale that drinks blood like blotting paper. The beach is narrower than a city street, hemmed by barbed wire glittering with dew and death. Corporal Fred Shorer, 1st Battalion Royal Hampshire Regiment, counts 4 machine gun nests still alive above the smoke. WN-62, the strongest, a concrete Toblerone squatting atop the bluff. Its crew, Obergefreiter Heinrich Cheverlow, has fired 12,000 rounds already. Brass cartridges cascade down the slope like golden rain. Sergeant Major Hollis, yes, the same Stanley, crawls left, dragging a Bangalore torpedo. The long pipe slides under the wire. The blast rips a man-sized hole. He's through before the dust settles, Tommy gun barking. 2 Germans tumble backward, helmets spinning. Behind him, Lieutenant Richard Raymond of the 22nd Dragoons guides a flail tank, a Sherman with a spinning drum of chains, straight into the minefield. Each explosion is a drumbeat. Thump, thump, thump. The chains chew steel and earth alike, carving a lane wide enough for a platoon. At 0627, the radio crackles alive. It's Commander Joseph Vaggi, U.S. Navy Beachmaster, voice calm as Sunday chapel. Double D tanks on Dog Green report. Silence. Then a single reply, tinny and triumphant. This is Goblin 3, screen down, guns dry, moving inland. A lone duplex drive has beached itself behind a knocked-out LCVP, using the wreck for cover. Its 75mm begins to speak in slow, deliberate coughs. Every shell is a hammer blow against the casino strongpoint. You feel it now, the rhythm shifting. The MG-42s still howl, but their arcs are narrowing, gunners pausing to change barrels that glow cherry red. A British commando, face blackened with cork, rises to his knees and throws a gammon grenade. It lands inside the embrasure with a clatter. A muffled crump, then nothing. One nest goes dark. Hollis is already 30 yards up the slope, alone, beckoning the others with a wave that says now or never. The impossible is beginning to look possible. The cliff path is a goat track slick with clay and someone else's intestines. Captain David Tibby, 2nd Devons, leads a knot of commandos up a ravine the planners swore didn't exist. Intelligence called it impassable. Tibby calls it a staircase. His Webley is empty. so he uses it as a pointer. There, left of the smoke, where the wire sags. Below, the beach is a diorama of controlled chaos. A Churchill crocodile flame tank belches liquid fire across a pillbox. The scream inside lasts 3 heartbeats before the concrete itself seems to sigh. Sergeant Major Stanley Hollis, again, appears at the ravine mouth, face streaked black and red, dragging a wounded ranger whose dog tags read PFC Vincent DeMarco. Hollis shoves a morphine syringe into DeMarco's thigh, then points uphill. WN-60's blind on this flank. Move! At 0703, the first Hobart's Funnies crests the shingle. It's an AVRE with a fascine, a bundle of wooden pipes the size of a tram strapped to its snout. The driver, Trooper Les Reeves, 79th Armored, guns the engine and rams the bundle into the anti-tank ditch. Wood splinters, but the gap is bridged. Behind him, a squadron of Shermans roars across like it's a Sunday parade. 70 feet above, Lieutenant Edmund Hillenbrand peers through field glasses from WN-62's command bunker. His voice cracks over the field telephone. Feindliche Panzer auf Höhe 5, sie klettern die Klippe. Enemy tanks at elevation 5, they're climbing the cliff. Berlin wants clarification. Hillenbrand has none to give. The line goes dead when a 75mm shell from Goblin 3 punches through the observation slit and turns the map table into confetti. Tibby's group reaches the lip. The world opens. Green fields, hedgerows, and a single swastika flag snapping above a trench line 200 yards inland. Tibby checks his watch. 6 hours, they were told, to take this sector. He grins without humor. We're ahead of schedule. But then, the 352nd Infantry Division wakes up. A hidden 88 battery barks from Kolovy, and the 1st Sherman on the bluff erupts in a column of black smoke. The race just got tighter. The swastika flag snaps once, twice, then droops as Sergeant Tommy Wheeler, 1st Suffolks, saws the halyard with his bayonet. It flutters down like a dying bird and lands across the corpse of Feldwebel Franz Gockel, who'd fired 400 rounds from his MG-42 before a gammon grenade turned his world orange. Wheeler doesn't cheer. He just reloads and scans the orchards beyond. Captain Tibby's whistle shrills. The commandos fan out into the knee-high wheat, moving in short rushes. Every hedgerow hides a potential sniper, every apple tree a mortar tube. At 0729, the first counterattack hits. 2 companies of the 352nd's Grenadier Regiment 916, led by Hauptmann Ernst Bardke, who'd been breakfasting in a chateau when the first paratrooper flares lit the sky. They come at the double, gray ghosts between green rows, MP-40s spitting. On the beach, the tide has turned literal. The rising water laps at abandoned landing craft, forcing the follow-up waves to wade chest-deep. Lieutenant Commander Bernard Kimmons, Royal Navy, stands on a half-submerged LCI and directs traffic with a megaphone. "Rangers, to the right draw! Engineers, clear those tetrahedrons!" A bulldozer tank, another of Hobart's toys, noses a steel hedgehog aside like driftwood. Up on the bluff, Private D. Marco, the ranger Hollis dragged earlier, is conscious now, propped against a shattered casemate. He watches a flail tank chew through the last minefield and whispers, "Jesus, they're still coming." Indeed they are. The 116th Infantry's 2nd Battalion crests the rise in perfect skirmish order, led by Lieutenant Colonel Herb Hicks, who'd promised his wife he'd be home by Christmas. Hicks raises a cigar in salute to the commandos, then points inland. Vierville is 2 miles west, and the road is open. But Bartke's counterattack is gaining ground. A Panther tank, fresh from the depot at Bayou, growls through a gap in the bocage, 75mm gun traversing. The lead Sherman spots it first. Turret whines. Crack! The Panther's turret lifts 6 inches and settles crooked, brewing up. The German infantry waver. Tibby checks his watch again. 0741. The Atlantic Wall is breached in 4 places now. Yet the radios crackle with a new urgency. Panzergruppe West is rolling. If the beachhead isn't linked by noon, the whole lodgment could collapse. The commandos reload, fix bayonets, and step off into the green hell beyond the cliffs. The air in the orchard smells of apple blossoms and burning petrol. Sergeant Major Hollis moves like a man possessed, Sten gun tucked tight, leading a scratch section of green Howards and Rangers through the bocage. Every hedgerow is a fortress, every shadow a muzzle clash. At 0811, they stumble into a sunken lane where Lieutenant Franz Mueller's pioneer platoon has rigged a roadside bomb from a 500-pound aerial bomb. Hollis spots the glint of det cord, dives, and drags Wilson down with him. The blast lifts a Sherman 10 feet into the air and showers the lane with applewood splinters. 200 yards east, Captain Cyril Rand's Avery squadron is running out of tricks. The petard mortars are dry, but the Churchill bridge layer drops a scissors bridge across a cratered lane in 30 seconds flat. Over it pours Company A, 743rd Tank Battalion, their Shermans fitted with rhino prongs, steel tusks welded to the hulls that tear through bocage like paper. Driver Corporal Tony Stein whoops as his tank bursts into a meadow and catches a squad of Germans changing position. The bow machine gun chatters. The meadow becomes a killing ground. On the beach, the tide is now a merciless clock. Commander Vaji's megaphone is hoarse. "Clear the shingle! We need 500 yards for the Rhino ferries!" A DUK amphibious truck noses ashore loaded with 105mm howitzers. The crew leaps out knee-deep and begins firing from the waterline. Shells arc inland, walking fire across the Vierville Road. Each explosion is a drumbeat counting down to noon. Up on the bluff, Tibby's whistle sounds again. His commandos have reached the crest of Hill 32, the last high ground before the Ore River Valley. From here they can see the road net stretching inland like veins. German staff cars burn where typhoons caught them at dawn. But the horizon darkens. Dust, clouds, panzers. Tibby keys his radio. "Any station, this is Sunray 2. Enemy armor, grid 64589. Strength unknown. Request cab crank." The RAF controller's voice crackles back. "Wilco, Typhoons inbound 5 minutes." Hollis, ears ringing from the bomb, hauls himself up. He sees the dust too. Then he sees something else. A swastika flag still flying over a command post 800 yards west. He checks his watch. 0827. 5 minutes to air, 33 to link up. He turns to his men, voice raw but steady. "One more push, lads. Then we buy the Yanks a pint." They fix bayonets with a sound like 100 knives being sharpened. The orchard waits. The first Typhoon screams in low enough to part your hair. Wing Commander Johnny Baldwin, 123rd Wing, rolls his fighter bomber over the orchard and pickles 4 60-pound rockets. They streak like comets, slam into the tree line where Muller's pioneers are regrouping, and turn the sunken lane into a furnace. Trees become torches, men become shadows. The second Typhoon follows with cannons, stitching the ground in 20mm fury. When the smoke clears, the only movement is a single German helmet rolling downhill like a coin. Hollis doesn't wait for the echo. He's up and running, boots slipping on apple pulp and blood. Behind him, the mixed bag of commandos and Rangers fans out in perfect fire and movement. Private Wilson, 19 and suddenly ancient,
fires his Bren from the hip, and walks a burst across a machine gun crew trying to unlimber in a ditch. The gun tips sideways. The crew doesn't rise. At 0841, the command post is in sight. A stone farmhouse flying the swastika from a second-floor balcony. Hauptmann Bartka, yes, the same from the counterattack, stands in the doorway, Luger in one hand, field telephone in the other, screaming for the 352nd to fall back to St. Laurent. Hollis kicks in the gate. A potato masher grenade arcs out. He catches it on the bounce and lobs it back through the window. The explosion paints the white walls red. Bartka staggers out, hands raised, eyes wide at the sight of British Tommies already cutting down his flag. On the beach, the Rhino ferries have arrived, floating steel roadways that lock together like Meccano. Bulldozers shove them into place, while LSTs nose up and drop their jaws. Out roll the first M10 tank destroyers, 3-inch guns hungry for panzers. Lieutenant Edlin, the same who climbed from the sunken DD tank, stands on top of the bluff now, binoculars glued to the dust clouds. That's the 21st Panzer Division, he mutters, but they're late to the party. Tibby's radio spits static, then clarity. Sunray 2, this is Red Queen. Link up at Vierville complete. Road open to 50th Division. Well done. Tibby allows himself 1 second to exhale. Then he looks at his watch. 08:55. The Atlantic Wall is not just breached, it's behind them. But the day is far from done. From the west, the growl of Maybach engines grows louder. The commandos reload, share cigarettes, and turn their faces inland. 6 hours, they were promised. They've used less than 4.
The lane to Vierville smells of crushed mint and cordite. Hollis's section moves in single file along the hedgerow, shadows stretching long in the morning sun. The swastika from the farmhouse is now a trophy, stuffed in Corporal Shorer's backpack like a rag. Ahead, the village church steeple leans slightly, hit by a stray naval shell hours earlier. Smoke curls from its belfry, but the bell is silent. Captain Tibby halts the column at a crossroads marked by a shot-up Citroën staff car. Its driver still sits upright, hands fused to the wheel. Tibby's map is a mess of grease pencil and blood, but it shows one thing clear. Vierville is the cork in the bottle. Hold it, and the 50th Division pours inland. Lose it, and the beachhead dies. At 9:19, the silence breaks. A single 88mm round howls overhead and detonates in the field behind them, showering the lane with clods of Normandy earth. Then another. Then the sky fills with the whistle of incoming. The 21st Panzer's artillery has found the range. Men dive into ditches already ankle-deep with yesterday's rain. Private Wilson's Bren jams. He clears it with a curse that would shame a docker. From the beach, the reply is thunder. USS Texas, 14-inch guns elevated to maximum, looses a broadside that shakes the ground like a giant's cough. The shells pass overhead with a sound like tearing canvas and land 2 miles west, right on the 21st Panzer's forming up point. German radio nets dissolve into screams. Hollis is moving again. He's spotted a gap in the bocage where a rhino-pronged Sherman has torn a hole big enough for a platoon. He waves the men through. On the far side lies an orchard turned parking lot, abandoned Kubel wagons, a burning half-track, and, miracle of miracles, a field kitchen still simmering with ersatz coffee. A German cook, apron blood-spattered, raises his hands and offers a ladle. Hollis takes a swig, grimaces, and keeps moving. At 9:33, the church steeple comes into view. Union Jack rises where the swastika fell an hour ago. Men of the 69th Infantry Brigade, 50th Division, cheer from the windows. A piper, yes, a real piper, strikes up "The Black Bear" on the village green. Tibby steps into the square, boots crunching on shattered tile. He salutes the piper, then keys his radio. Sunray to all stations. Vierville secure, road open to Bayeux. Send tea and ammunition. But the horizon still churns with dust. The 21st Panzer is wounded, not dead. And somewhere out there, Rommel is already speeding west. The bagpipes wheeze to a halt as the last note hangs over Vierville like a question. Captain Tibby wipes coffee from his chin and studies the western sky. The dust clouds are closer now, resolving into angular silhouettes of Panzer IVs, their long 75s sniffing the air. Sergeant Major Hollis counts at least a dozen, maybe more. He turns to the piper, Sergeant Jimmy McAllister, and deadpans, "Save the next tune for Berlin, lad. We've got company." At 9:52, the first Panther rounds the bend 800 yards out, turret traversing like a predator's head. Its commander, Oberlieutenant Hans von Luck, yes, the same von Luck of later fame, stands half out of the cupola, field glasses pressed to his eyes. He sees the Union Jack, the Shermans brewing tea on their engines, the commandos digging in with casual urgency. His radio crackles. "Achtung Englendern in Vierville, Angriff." The response is immediate and biblical. From the beach, now 3 miles behind but still in range, the 5-inch guns of HMS Glasgow open up. Shells scream overhead and bracket the lead Panther. The turret hatches blow outward. The tank slews into a ditch, brewing up with a roar that rattles Vierville's remaining windows. Von Luck ducks, curses, and orders the rest to ground. Inside the village, the defense crystallizes. Lieutenant Edlund's Rangers take the church tower, BARs and Springfields poking from every arrow slit. Corporal Stein's Rhino Sherman reverses into the square, hull down behind the fountain, 75 millimeters trained on the road. Hollis organizes a fire team with a captured Panzerfaust. He's never fired one, but the principle seems simple. Tibby marks firing points on his grease pencil map: orchard left, wall right, church center. At 10:05, the Typhoons return. This time, it's 184th Squadron, rockets and 20mm cannons hungry. They catch the 21st Panzer columns strung out on the Bayeux Road like ducks on a wire. 3 tanks die in 30 seconds. The rest scatter into the bocage. Von Luck's voice, calm but clipped, orders a withdrawal to the next ridge. The Desert Fox's vaunted counterattack has been blunted before it truly began. Tibby allows himself a glance at his watch, 10:11. The Atlantic Wall is not just cracked, it's shattered. From Dog Green to Vierville, the impossible has taken 4 hours and 24 minutes. The commandos light cigarettes off a burning half-track, pass around a bottle of looted Calvados, and listen to the piper strike up again. This time, it's Highland Laddie. But the war isn't over. Far from it. Rommel is coming, and the hedgerows stretch for miles.
The sun climbs higher, burning off the morning mist, and the bocage reveals itself, a green labyrinth of earth banks older than William the Conqueror, each one a ready-made fortress. Captain Tibby stands on the church steps, field glasses sweeping the next ridge. The 21st Panzer has vanished into the folds of the land, but their engines still growl like distant thunder. He knows the math. Every minute Vierville holds, another 1,000 men and tanks pour off the beaches. Sergeant Major Hollis limps up, left arm in a sling fashioned from a German camouflage smock. Shrapnel from the Panther's death throes caught him, but he waves off the medic. "Seen worse at Dunkirk," he grunts. In his good hand he clutches a captured map case, 21st Panzer's order of battle, complete with fuel states and ammunition dumps. Tibby's eyes narrow. They're low on everything. The Atlantic Wall was meant to stop the invasion cold. Instead, it's become a supply depot for the invaders. At 10:34, the first link-up arrives, a column of Bren Harriers from the 50th Division, pennants fluttering, clattering into the square. Major General Douglas Graham steps down, boots polished despite the chaos, and salutes Tibby with a grin. "Heard you lads took the cliff in your tea break. Care to show us the way to Caen?" Behind him, a 6-pounder anti-tank gun is already unlimbering, crews stripping to the waist in the rising heat. From the beach, the sound of the tide has been replaced by the roar of engines. LSTs disgorge Sherman after Sherman, each one rolling off the ramps as if the channel were a conveyor belt. Overhead, P-47 Thunderbolts orbit like hawks, waiting for targets. One peels off, rockets rippling, and a mile west, a German self-propelled gun erupts in a fireball. The pilot waggles his wings in salute. Hollis gathers the original assault section, what's left of it. 12 started the climb at Dog Green. 8 stand here now. Private Wilson cradles a looted Luger he can't figure out how to unload. Corporal Shorer counts the holes in his helmet. 3. They share a silent look that needs no translation. We did the impossible. Now we do it again. Tibby folds the captured map and tucks it into his breast pocket. He checks his watch one last time, 10:41. 6 hours since the first ramp dropped. The swastika flags are ash. The road to Bayeux is open. The Atlantic Wall, Hitler's vaunted fortress, has crumbled in 6 bloody hours. But the piper plays on, and the hedgerows wait. The church bell in Vierville finally rings, cracked but defiant, as the hands of the clock hit 11. Captain Tibby lowers his binoculars. The ridge is empty now. The 21st Panzer has melted into the bocage like smoke. In the square, commandos and doughboys mingle, trading cigarettes and stories in 3 languages. Someone has chalked on the fountain, "Kilroy was here, 6 hours flat." Sergeant Major Hollis sits on the church steps, field dressing soaked crimson but his eyes bright. A war correspondent, cap askew, shoves a microphone at him. How does it feel to break the Atlantic Wall? Hollis spits apple pulp and grins. Feels like the start of a very long day. Behind them, the supply line is a living thing. Duckwiz wallow through the surf, jeeps bounce over the Scissors Bridge, and a pipeline, codenamed Pluto, is already snaking across the channel floor to feed the hungry engines. The beach that was a slaughter pen at dawn is now a port. Cranes swing, bulldozers roar, and medics carry plasma in crates marked Coca-Cola. Major General Graham claps Tibby on the shoulder. "Your lads bought us the hinge. Now we swing the door." The 50th Division is already moving out, infantry in lorries, tanks in column, artillery towed behind. Their objective, Bayeux by nightfall, Caen in 3 days. The timetable is ambitious. No one mentions that. At 11:06, the final swastika flag is torn down from a barn loft and replaced with the Union Jack. A cheer rises, ragged but real. Private Wilson finally figures out the Luger's safety and fires a single shot into the air. The echo rolls across the fields like a starting gun. Tibby lights a cigarette off the embers of a burning Cuba wagon. He looks west, where the hedgerows stretch like green ramparts to the horizon. Somewhere out there, Rommel is rallying what's left of the 21st Panzer. The 12 SS is racing from Caen, and the Führer is screaming in a bunker. The Atlantic Wall is rubble. The invasion is ashore. But the commandos know the truth. 6 hours was just the overture. The real symphony begins now, in the blood-soaked bocage, mile by mile, hedge by hedge. Hollis stands, slings his sten, and calls to the piper. "One more tune, Jimmy. Something for the road." The pipes swell. The column moves out. The impossible is routine now.